You all know Mr. Ramchit, chairman of the Independent Liberal Party, and I am yours truly. I want to thank you all for coming here today for what we like to describe as Kamala Gate. Kamala Gate, I think is the better word. Kamala Gate. And I want to say to you that the leader of the House, Dr. Rudal Munilal, piloted a motion in the House on May 1st, 2015. That motion was for the suspension of Dr. Keith Rowley, member of the Martin West and leader of the opposition, and he said he must be suspended from the service of the House for the remainder of the session, that is until June 16th.
The remainder of the life of the Parliament.
The member of the
life of the Parliament.
The life of the Parliament. But I quoted from his actual motion, but for the life of the Parliament. Thanks. Prime Minister Kamala Persad-Bissessar, member of Parliament for Superior, was the penultimate speaker on the motion, and she waved documents feverishly during her contribution. Documents purporting to incriminate the leader of the opposition for his attempts at misleading the House in the Emailgate affair. Following the Prime Minister's contribution, Dr. Munilal then wound up the debate with an advice to Dr. Rowley, stating, I quote, "Since you lie, goodbye," unquote. Whereupon a vote was then taken to suspend the leader of the opposition, quote, "from the service of the House for the remainder of the session," unquote. And this motion was carried by a vote of 24 in favor and 1 against. And I need not tell you the 1 against was me, yours truly. In their contribution to the House, both Dr. Munilal and the Prime Minister, among others, gave the impression that the Emailgate investigation was closed. Subsequent events, however, and in particular a statement by a Deputy Director of Public Prosecution, Mrs. Joan Onopol, yesterday, have shown that the government benches had misrepresented the House. I say again, the advice from the Deputy DPP has shown that the government benches, and in particular the Prime Minister, Kamala Persad-Bissessar, and Dr. Munilal, had misrepresented the House. Based on the DPP's statement, it has been shown that the motion was based on erroneous advice, and that instead the matter is still being deliberated upon by both the DPP's office as well as by the police. In other words, I'm saying the advice given to the House by the Prime Minister and the leader of the House were advice which deliberately misled the House. And what they said, of course, was a misrepresentation. And they led us to believe that the Emailgate affair was closed. I am saying, however, that the release by Ms. Joan Onopol yesterday has proven otherwise. She has even said also in the release that you'll read that the police matter investigation has not been closed. Since then, there has been a huge national and international outcry against this action by the government. The DLP wishes to state that this is the clearest case of political desperation by a government that it has ever seen. It is the clearest example of political desperation by a government that we have ever seen. So glaring that the Deputy DPP was moved to act in what the ILP calls Trinidad and Tobago and the Caribbean's finest display of integrity. At our darkest hour, the DPP came to display a high level of integrity for Trinidad and Tobago and the Caribbean, and confirm to the people of this country and the wider Caribbean that the actions of the elected government of Trinidad and Tobago were self-serving when they suspended Dr. Keith Rowley from the Parliament. the actions of the government were self-serving. It has since been confirmed that the email gate investigations are ongoing and that there has been no conclusive determination as had been announced by the Honorable Prime Minister and others in the government. And I'm saying that what they have done, therefore, can easily be described as the most barefaced prevarication known in our democracy and deserving of the highest condemnation by the people of this country. The people of this country today are therefore demanding better and honest leadership from the government, even in its last days. We are saying, we in the RP are saying, even in its last days, we demand from the government better and honest leadership. From all appearances, honesty in this government is the best kept secret. I will say it again. For all appearances, honesty in this government is the best kept secret. The RP wishes to state that we have an obligation in defense of democracy and in the preservation of justice to reject the People's Partnership Administration even before the election date is announced. We reject what they stand for. We reject their administration. We are saying also as a party, in every community, school, workplace, church, sport, and civic organizations, the citizens of this country must use this betrayal of our democracy by an elected government to set new standards between the government and the governed. I'm saying, therefore, out of evil cometh good. And let us today, therefore, use this piece of evil to now set new and higher standards for the country. I'm saying also, too, that we must make a national and regional statement on the quality of governance that will be allowed here at home and throughout the region. Trinidad and Tobago is being looked upon in the Caribbean as the leader of the Caribbean. And therefore, whatever we do or don't do here, we will determine in some ways what happens in the rest of the Caribbean. Trinidad and Tobago as a nation now has a golden opportunity to rewrite its political handbook and to provide leadership to the entire region by condemning the illegal, self-serving, unconstitutional, and undemocratic actions of the Kamla Persad-Bissessar administration. Never again must this shame fall upon our country. An entire nation is now called to action. And in this regard, the ILP has today filed a motion with the Speaker for Private Members' Day on Friday, May 22nd. It's very up to 29th. But since, of course, I believe the Saturday is Indian Arrival Day, I suspect to be 22nd. I put it for 29th. Tomorrow when they go in Parliament, I'll ask them which is the last Friday for them. And whatever date is, I'll change the date to suit. So I filed that motion today. And I will ask Mrs. Vika Ramjit to read you the motion that I filed today for Private Members' Day. I want you to bear in mind, I filed two motions. One for tomorrow, which I'm sure the Speaker would reject. And I'll tell you why just now. And after you reject it tomorrow, one for next Friday, which he must accept. So first of all, we're going to read the one that he will reject.
Okay.
If this one here is the one that he will reject tomorrow.
So the motion that is being filed on the order paper
Has been filed.
Or has been filed on today's date, the order paper for debate at the next available sitting.
This is tomorrow.
Which is tomorrow, states. Whereas on May 6, 2015, the House approved a motion to censure and to suspend from the House the Honorable Leader of the Opposition. And whereas in the debate on the said motion, the mover of the motion, the Honorable Leader of the House, made numerous references to a collection of emails and claimed these emails were fake as a matter of fact, and used this as one of the bases on which the Leader of the Opposition should be censured and suspended. And whereas the Deputy Director of Public Prosecutions has issued a statement indicating that no conclusion has been made by the Office of the DPP nor the police as to whether these emails are in fact fake or genuine, and that investigations into the authenticity of the emails are still ongoing. And whereas the statement by the Deputy DPP disproves the claim by the Leader of the House that as a matter of fact the emails are fake, Hence, the rationale upon which the Honorable Leader of the Opposition was suspended was critically baseless and renders the suspension unjust. And whereas there is also widespread concern that the process used and the procedure followed to suspend the Leader of the Opposition was fundamentally flawed, be it resolved that for the reasons foregoing and notwithstanding Standing Order 4112, this Honorable House rescind the suspension of the Honorable Leader of the Opposition forthwith. Respectfully filed by Mr. Jack Austin Warner, MP Chaguanas West.
Now, when this motion comes tomorrow before him, in typical Speaker fashion, I know he shall reject it. I shall say he should file it as a substantive motion under, of course, Clause 12. So because I know he'll say that, I've also filed a motion for Private Members' Day, which is the day given for the opposition to file whatever motion it wants for discussion. And therefore, this motion is the one I shall ask the Chairman to read for you now.
And that one is, whereas a motion to censure and suspend the Leader of the Opposition was placed on the order paper on Friday, May 1st, 2015, and whereas the basis for this motion was that the Leader of the Opposition, in exercising his unqualified right to free speech, read into the parliamentary records documents or emails he received from an unidentified source, and whereas the reciters of this motion of censure and suspension stated that several leading authorities submitted reports which confirmed that the emails and their contents were false, and whereas the motion of censure and suspension was debated and approved by the House of Representatives on Wednesday, May 6, 2015, on the basis that the emails read into the record by the Leader of the Opposition were false, and whereas subsequent to the approval of this motion, credible and reliable information has been placed in the public domain by way of a press release by the Deputy Director of Public Prosecutions dated May 13, 2015, which states that the investigation into the authenticity of the emails and their contents is ongoing, be it resolved that this Honorable House rescind its decision to censure the member for Diego Martin West and Leader of the Opposition, and be it further resolved that this Honorable House rescind its decision to suspend from the service of the House for the remainder of the session Dr. Keith Rowley, member for Diego Martin West and Leader of the Opposition. Of course, filed by Mr. Jack Austin Warner, MP for Chaguanas West.
Thank you, Chairman. And I want to say again that this second motion is done for Private Members' Day. In the release I'll give you, I have May 29th, because that is the last day of the month. But because the Saturday is a holiday, I believe they will advance it to the 22nd. If they do tomorrow, I will amend the date to suit. But that is for Private Members' Day. This other motion, which was really the first one, is the one I'm carrying tomorrow. I'll give you a copy of this. And I'm saying to you that the Speaker will reject this in typical Speaker form. When he rejects this, I'm saying, then I move on to motion number 2. In any event, this thing has to be resolved in Parliament, and the only person to do that is the ILP, and we shall not shirk from that responsibility. I want to say, therefore, as in parting, I want to make the point that if ever there was any doubt, about the need for a third party in this fair country of ours, in our political landscape, so to speak, such a doubt these past days should no longer exist. I want to add, a third party like the ILP is needed to bring to the attention of citizens matters of this nature. In this situation, where the government and the opposition, PNM, are at war, the voice and concerns of the people are being represented in and out of the Parliament by the third party, the ILP, which can give voice to the majority of citizens and start a new conversation. The ILP, as such, is here to stay, is playing its role, and a two-party system abused by a government is unchecked. But with a three-party system, where no one has a majority, governance and accountability can reign. I have changed it, but it can reign. So I'm making a point to you, therefore, if ever a third party has become relevant in this country, that time is now. And therefore, we as an ILP are not going to shirk our responsibility. We shall step up to the task and perform the role that the country expects of us, that civil people, civil society demands of us. We shall step up. I would now like to ask the chairman to say a few words before I take your questions.
Well,
come on.
Just to say that what our political leader has said represents the view of the executive and the membership of the Independent Liberal Party, and further, that we are not only talking, we have acted. We have acted when the constitutional amendment bill was being, there was an attempt to pass that bill. We stood up for the rights of the people, and today again we see that it is only because of the Independent Liberal Party standing up in Parliament alone to deal with the abuse of the government. Really, that's our role, and we are taking it forward to the people on the street, on the ground, through our cottage meetings, etc. I agree with my political leader that if ever there was a time that this country needs a third party, it is now. And that's a gap that we are filling in the Independent Liberal Party.
Thank you. And of course, we begin our meetings tonight
we are in Arima.
We continue tonight in Arima, in Cleaver Road, from 7 p.m.
70 Cleaver Road.
70 Cleaver Road,
yes.
From 7 p.m. We are going throughout the country. So now your questions, ladies and gentlemen. To any of us if you want to.
First question is something you said. You said the only person to do that, to raise this motion, is the ILP. For obvious reasons,
yes.
The opposition, the PNM,
yes.
is no longer in the Parliament.
That's correct.
Have you spoken to them about your plan to maybe see that if the remaining members might come back to support?
No. I got a first question. I didn't want to talk to them at all. And the reason for that is I don't want in any way for them to compromise their position or their stand. They don't even know what I'm doing. They don't even know about this press conference. And therefore, in no way I have spoken to them, neither directly or indirectly. And the reason I say again being, I didn't want to get them involved in any compromising manner.
May I just add?
Sure.
May I just add that the focus of the Independent Liberal Party is to bring these issues to the country at large. And therefore, our agenda is set by ourselves. And what we are doing, therefore, is not dependent on the positioning of either the UNC or the PNM. It is the positioning of the Independent Liberal Party vis-a-vis the citizenship.
If I'm shut down by the Speaker, and he'll be a brave man to do that, by the way, but if he does it, I'm quite sure I won't be shut down by the public. And that's the important point. Is there anything else?
If you are so certain he would reject motion 1, why not file it the way you think you will ask him to file it?
Well, that's why I'm doing 2 ways.
I know, but why do 2? Why not just...
No, because you see, if I do the substantive motion, that takes 21 days. A private member's day takes 7 days. And in that context, therefore, I have more time. It's better for me from a timeline perspective. The one I'm doing tomorrow takes 90 minutes to file. And he could decide one way or the other. I'm giving him more than 90 minutes. I give him from today till tomorrow 1:30. I know he has to consult his people and so on, his party. I respect that. But I know that tomorrow I'm coming with this motion, and I expect him, in typical form, I say it, and fashion, to reject it. But he can't reject next week's motion.
I don't know if you saw this. A few days ago, the PG group issued a release that says, in part, suspension of opposition candidate from Parliament highlights weaknesses of democratic institutions. And basically, it's a travel advisory warning that Trinidad is in some sort of unstable footing right now.
This country the government is reckless. This country is totally unstable, and people who want to do business here will think twice. But I think the person best able to answer that question, I'll put it to the chairman, because from her advocacy, I'm quite sure she will be best able to answer it. Chairman.
You caught me over there again. But what was your question again? Sorry?
The PG group has issued a release essentially saying that the country is on unstable footing because of undemocratic actions by suspending Dr. Rowley.
Yes.
Essentially, it's saying that they're expecting, some level of unrest and be careful if you're traveling here. I'm just wondering if you had any comment on that.
Well, it is an undemocratic process that was engaged in, but not only that, this government sought to bypass the rule of law, because in this country and in our jurisdiction there is always the three arms, and the rule of law is what was abused by the parliament. You have a matter that is being dealt with by the police service and the law, and you have taken the time out to engage in a process that supersedes that. And that is why we say that they have touched on the rule of law, they've entered into the arena of the rule of law. That in itself suggests that there is some sort of instability. And that is what is going to be so frightening, because if you are coming to a country where there is no respect for the law, even by the government, then you have certain concerns. You must have certain concerns in those circumstances.
You see why I tell the chief civil dance here? Because in fact, what the government has done is to turn Parliament into a kangaroo court. Not even their Monday night forum. A real kangaroo court. And what is even worse, that is being done with the acquiescence of the Speaker. That is unpardonable, my friends. Anything else? Right.
The nomination day for your candidates. Nomination day for your candidates.
We still screening, sweetheart. We still screaming. We don't have nomination day. Nomination day is when they call the date. We still screening, and believe you me, when we announce our candidates, we shall make the whole country proud. Trust me.
Or you're not doing an open screening the way the PNM is doing. Or the way the UNC is doing when people come in, collect their nomination. Or the COP is doing the same thing.
Nobody should follow what the UNC is doing.
Or the COP.
Or the COP. Nobody. And therefore I say far from that. I much prefer how the PNM did it, right? In a more elegant manner. But we are staying far from the UNC and the COP. Very far. I know it's between me. As you said, Chairman, this is laughable. There's a coalition between the UNC and the COP. Forget Ethiopia and Jackson. And yet the UNC has said they want people to collect nomination forms for 41 seats. So where's the COP?
Well,
how many seats? In other words, I'm asking you, how many seats would the COP send forms for? 41? So therefore tell me you have 82 seats in Parliament? I mean, it is so. It tells you once and for all that the COP has absolutely no place, no role in the UNC affairs. They are there just for cosmetic purposes. Okay? But let me thank you all for accepting this invitation. I'll now give you a copy of the address I made and also to what the chairman read. I repeat, of course, this is for tomorrow. You understand? For tomorrow. The one attached there is for next Friday, whichever one it takes. This one or next Friday, all ask the same thing, to rescind the decision to suspend Dr. Rowley and put him back in the People's Parliament for which he was elected. That's all we are saying. All right? So thank you very much.